Do I have to check my own audio level every single time? No, right? It's not such an obligation, I guess. It's more out of tradition, something like that. Done out of inertia to check and to make sure that it works and whatnot, but it's not in itself something utterly necessary to be done or whatnot. It's just a part of life, basically, not something that we need to always do. But I started in the end, we just choose to do to some level because it seems to be not the easiest thing, but one of the most relaxing ones. I guess something along those lines, basically. And yeah, it's fine. Anyways, it's not something bad or something negative. Just because you're trying to see if the audio works. It's not something that condemns anyone, that destroys humanity. It's just the action of, I guess, making sure that things work, letting stuff go in its own way, on just assisting as much as we can in not making it an interrupted process, something along those lines, I guess. But yeah, let me see. Uh, Here we are. I don't have anything else to say. So yeah, here we are. Uh, I is everything fine? I assume so. I assume that we have everything going, everything working to some degree. Um, yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think. Yeah. I just have one thing to do, and with that gone, we have no more white noise, or not white noise. I think white noise is something different. Good evening, good morning, welcome, good day, good existence. I was trying to say white noise is like a particular frequency. Okay, it's just electrostatic interferences, that sort of noise, not something wow so surprising or anything like that. But yeah. Anyway, the point is, here we are. Welcome. Good day. Why are we here today? Why? Why is the question? I don't know. It's today. It's a complicated day. I guess some days it's a lot easier to just be. In some other occasions, I guess it's just surprising to also see that there are so many aspects of life to always keep thinking about. I guess it's I wasn't really talking. I was just listening today, and somebody said to me something along the lines of, "Oh yeah. There are all of these troubles that I have existing in my life. There are all of these things that are so tiresome." But I at that time already, I remember I didn't say anything. It was interesting to hear somebody say that it is bad to have things to fix, that it somehow is negative to have stuff to work on and things to make better and whatnot. It's, I guess, surprising to see that somehow we are offered the solutions to our own issues, and somehow, even with all of that, we are capable of dissecting them and deciding that they are not necessary, they are not part of what we have to have. We do not have so much of an interest on so many things. It's I guess rather weird, if I have to be honest. It's rather interesting to see how much we don't care about the things that happen around us. It's an eternal discussion, eternal trouble about things that go and come and things that are and are not and whatnot. And in the end, none of that truly matters. It's not that we are truly caring for anything in particular. It's, I see way too much a lack of interest for stuff in general, I guess. And I don't think that we are truly aiming towards anywhere as a whole, or that the common proposition is not for the people, the basic human being, let's say, anyone. The common denominator is anyone. Anyone should be capable of possessing a goal. That's not what I see. I don't find myself looking around and realizing that people possesses those sort of answers to their own existence. Not because, not trying to say it from a point of view of, oh yeah, yeah, intellectualism and whatnot, and these modes of, oh wow, yeah, this person doesn't have something of such a level like what I possess in terms of goals, in terms of aims, in terms of anything. They don't have that, and I am therefore superior. No, 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 no. It's more along just the lines of, you know, I see out there, and find, I don't find it to be the case that the average, the media, or the medium, or median, how do you say it in English, has all, or has in general, decisions about what they are going to do and what they want to have, and such. And it's, I don't know, I guess I always talk about stuff of this sort. It's sort of unavoidably consequential that we keep gazing at the void, and in that sense, yeah, it gazes back. It's a good expression in terms of, you know, things don't just happen outside, and you observe them and nothing happens inside of you. It's also a consequence of caring for something, is to see yourself being affected by what that thing, even if you are not suffering anything, what that thing goes through, what that event in itself makes you also go through. That eternal process of, I guess, resonating with the energies that we decide to carry. I don't want to sound too mystic. It's just the basic notion of, yeah, you know, I have things that I started to care about. I guess the easiest example always is I have children. I decided to have some children, and something that happens is I find myself to be caring for them, caring for their life. And sometimes I don't want to actually decide anything for them. I just want to let them be the best that they can be. And when I see that they are suffering, I am unavoidably also going to suffer. This, I guess, nowadays we can describe it probably as something along the lines of love, that the capacity that comes with loving things, it's more basic. It's just in the level of empathy, or compassion, stuff of that sort, to realize that something might not be doing as good, and also not just possessing the knowledge of the negativity of the situation, but also possessing the awareness of the negativity of it in, in itself, and all of that stuff is, I guess, perplexing. You wouldn't expect it to be such a prevalent thing for anyone that, yeah, we we are looking out there, and much of the stuff that happens, that goes around, that exists, is not so important. I guess it's, I don't know. It's a life full of so many things, yet all of them to some degree don't contribute exactly. It's complicated. I guess, yeah, as always, it's that category of complicated conversations to have, discussions to hear, and whatnot. You don't. Nobody wants to sit down. It's not on the sort of, oh yeah, I am trying to be real. I can accept that maybe I am being a little bit negative, but at the same time, it doesn't make the reality of, yeah, things cannot be so easily talked about. It's sadly, the reality ends up being that we cannot waste our existences trying to argue about so many things. We have already, I guess, as a society, chosen what will be the most important things to try and solve, and after that, everything else might come. But only when we have dealt with what actually matters for us and what we say is important and what not, and yeah, it's all of that stuff that just keeps happening and keeps being a part of us, being a part of what we decided to go to propose as an idea to ever spectate, to ever look at and try to see what is the idea itself trying to bring into nature. It's, I guess, if you want an analogy, we can say it in terms of, yeah, in some cases, we are not just us who think about the stuff, but also the ideas who become apparent, and in themselves, the ideas also have goals that we are capable of executing as long as we are interested in following those consequences. Otherwise, the idea in a basic form presents something much more simpler that we can still utilize for other things. We can still decide to strive towards something different, And all of that is, I will say, it's nice. It's almost necessary. And yeah, in this case, it's just that, I don't know, I I keep seeing that. Personally, I keep observing stuff of that sort happen, and I don't think I feel happy because of it. It's, I guess, on one hand, it's always this discussion about, oh yeah, does it make you happy to know that you could change your life tomorrow? Maybe. I guess it makes me to some degree happy. It brings me some level of satisfaction to know that, yeah, I care about the stuff enough that I can someday find a solution to any problem that I have. Not all my problems, as in tomorrow I will wake up and I will have everything fixed, but rather all the things that trouble me could be solved. That's a proper statement, and yeah, it's not that that doesn't happen. It's not that things are terminal. All of the situations that happen, that we experience as humans and whatnot, are mm, definite. No, it's, even if that happens, even if we can change, even if the world is quite flexible, it's, I guess I don't know. I'm borrowing the idea of yeah, a tired society, an overworked and abused society that slowly is more and more incapable of solving things. Out of nowhere we stand here and it becomes revolutionary to say, yeah, you know what, stuff like mental. I don't want to exactly say problems. I think most especially under the proper categories, what gets defined as a mental issue is not so much of a common daily thing. So yeah, it's a risky category to utilize. But yeah, let's say most of the mental issues that we can find in our life could be to some level, I guess, at the very least addressed. I won't go as far as to say that yeah, they all can be undoubtedly removed from the equation of the existence that we carry, but at least what we can do is address them and point towards them and do stuff to make them to make anything work and to make things take a better look, and all of that is, even if it is true, is demanding. It's, I don't know. I While I was thinking about it, I was also remembering stuff that I yes, I see it everywhere to some degree. It's complicated. We like to talk about being human beings and being people and being in our own places and being capable of having the things that we want and having the things that we enjoy. But at the same time, something that we cannot properly discuss is how much of any of those things is truly something that we ourselves get to actually desire. To some degree, it feels more like many of our interests are just based on the options that were presented. I don't want to sound offensive, I guess, but yeah, it makes much more sense when you start to compare to what was the different generations of history. We didn't have many capacities to look at as many things as we do nowadays. We didn't have the capacity to focus ourselves in so many ideas as we do today. We didn't have as much of a prevalence of yeah, of a care given to stuff that is related to money or power or possessions or whatever. Any of those things slowly came to become more important, and many of those things nowadays we can say that we care about them, but even then we might not be truly capable of possessing something of our own interest. It's it's a complicated discussion. It's all of this is coming from the side of yeah, you know what? We have a certain side, a certain I guess a realization that we got was okay. Something funny that happens is the human, in many cases, decides before it even gets to actually make the conscious decision. It always is deciding about the stuff that it does. The brain has a prevalence over the matter, not exactly the mind, but rather that side, literally, of the brain of neurons firing at such incredible speeds that sometimes we are making choices in 1 or 2 milliseconds or and such. and stuff of that sort that happens so much is what we later on get to declare as our own interest, as our own perspective, as a as an appropriate conclusion of ours, when it actually already happened, compared to what we are in the rest the, of life. We are taking here, I don't know, 20 seconds to say something important, comparing 20 seconds to milliseconds themselves, to the mere handful of milliseconds that it takes to reach decisions. It's an incredibly, not just huge, an abysmal distance between those things. We can try to think about it and we can try to put it into words to make it look like it makes sense. But we actually like many things before we can actually say why. Simply because it was an already taken decision, so to speak. It was an already, not exactly premeditated, but undiscussed decision. In many cases, yeah, or not in many, in some cases, it can happen that we actually find ourselves at a loss, but in many other occasions, it's just the endless process of trying to identify if what I like is something good, and if the way in which I like it is actually an honest one or just something that I utilize to keep myself interconnected to everything else in terms of, oh yeah, I am a very, let's say like this, I am a religious person. In my own religion, something that happens quite a lot is we adore animals. Therefore, I am not picking up a new pet for me to have in my own house because I actually want it. I am doing so because I am aligning with this higher power and I am listening to my whole spectrum of important things that tell me that I actually need to have one. So I am fulfilling my role within the community. I am fulfilling, I am playing, uh, I am putting my work, I am in my place, acting in accordance with what I know I should do. Maybe, once I'm going back, the beginning of the example is maybe I just like the dog, but I can spend many hours convincing myself that what I like is not the thing that I like because of what I actually do, because of the modes in which I find myself attached to it, but rather it is this much more logical and reasonable and useful explanation and morally satisfying and fulfilling and edificating and so good and an outstanding mode of associating with the rest of the world. And yeah, it's complicated. We don't talk out that. We do not possess the capacity to usually do that in our daily life. We don't try to see if the things that we like are there because we actually like them or because we believe that we like them for a certain reason. Therefore, we must sustain those things that we supposedly like for a not so distinct or comprehended reason as to keep the whole narrative afloat, you know? That whole thing also happens, and that whole thing also sadly takes a toll on who we are, what we do, and similar. I don't know. I'm not saying it to complain. It's just I I I don't think it happens enough. I I believe we have quite the possibility. We are in an era in which ideas have become much more prevalent as a thing to put our attention on as things in general, I guess. And sadly, it's not the common thing to see that, yeah, we actually talk about this stuff, we actually care about this stuff. We just assume that there are interesting or important things. We never stop to look at them and try to actually make them matter. We just let what we have previously such to be an important thing stay in its place. And yeah, my point goes to, and I don't know, I feel like in many cases I don't see people being, I don't want to say, I don't see people being happy. I don't see them being as satisfied with existence as they could be if actions were in any way to be taken. I'm not even declaring that, oh yeah, things need to be changed in this one direction. It's just a matter of, you know what? I don't look at myself. I have a, I haven't, I always liked this, I guess, metaphor, something along those lines of, we're accustomed to having mirrors in all of our houses, and something funny that happens is, in many cases, the human doesn't look at itself. In many cases, it's even bad to look at our own reflection. We don't want to see what we are. The same thing happens also with what we like. Suddenly, we can allow ourselves to have stuff that, if we were to see it yeah, happening, existing in other people's life, we might even harshly criticize, and all of that is surprising to see. We are so, I don't know, I don't want to say incapable. I think a more proper word will be something along the lines of just, we are so against trying to judge things that we like. It's it's this endless necessity for absolute. I remember hearing about that in a different context, but yeah, an absolute certainty that must always be given amidst the whole chaos of life. We need to always like something, and even if it is something bad, as long as we can justify it to ourselves, we can keep having this one thing in our own existence, and that is replicated throughout reality itself 1,000 times. The common thing is to see somebody having stuff that they care about, things of the world that they grew fond, fond of, parts of reality that we can say matter to us, all of that stuff that otherwise never happens is it's just something that we do not look at, and it's just something that we do not want to at all acknowledge. We do not want to address. The common thing is not for us to say that, yeah, we like things that might be bad, we like things that might be harmful, We are a part of situations that might not be as good. We have learned to turn quite a blind eye towards all of those things, sadly. And yeah, this is just another one of those. Another, I think the expression goes something along the lines of another grain of dust in the desert. Something like that, basically, yeah. Many things are what we say that we like, but at the same time, none of them is truly something that we stop to think about and stop to wonder. There is almost no wonder in the modern world, I guess. And yeah, that's heavy words are always dangerous, but yeah, I don't think it is quite a loss. I don't even know if there was a time in which we were more connected to all of those things. In ancient times, let's say like this. In ancient times, you could risk your whole life if you admitted to liking something that went minimally against what the tribe or your culture said was important. Nowadays, at the best, get a slap in the wrist. Or in terms of, oh yeah, yeah, you like absolutely foul stuff. You just get still the possibility of living at all. You get started and you gain all of that stuff, you know? And sadly, the common thing is always for those things to keep on happening. We don't we don't talk out stuff like that. There are always, I guess, risks that could come. Not that anybody who actually has anything to say would care about them, nor any one of us who has nothing at the same time to properly point out would get punished for, but it's just the reality of, yeah, probably there are going to be consequences still nowadays compared to before, but even then, not many of those things are bad or as horrible as before, let's say. We are not getting killed so much. The humans have stopped terrorizing one another in such direct ways, I guess. Everything else, yeah, yeah, is less of an issue, less of a bad thing, and whatnot. And it's just that, yeah, I look around and I don't see stuff happening. I don't see things moving in any direction. I just see an empty land, a very empty landscape of almost nothing, I guess. It's human efforts are lacking. That's my true statement. And sadly, it doesn't feel good to say it, or it doesn't feel nice to address it. It's not something to take pride on. It's just, yeah, it happens. Truly, wow, surprisingly, it happens. But does it contribute to anyone's life to say it, to point at it, to try to make noise about its existence or non existence? No, just that, yeah, I think in the end, we have had quite a lot of things happening in life. I guess, assuming that, as always, no, listener, we as people, we as individuals are experiencing life. Let's say we have gone out there and we have tried this stuff and we have paid attention to things and whatnot. As long as all of that has happened, yeah, probably we find ourselves in a good enough situation so that we can say that now we have seen many things happen. And truly, the world out there, not that exactly it doesn't matter, it's just that it doesn't play such a role in anything that we do. It doesn't give or destroy so much of what we have or what we want. You know, I see it as a normal thing to get angry because, yeah, issues arise. I don't even understand why. It's such a. I don't want to stay at the basic description of misconception. It's such a puzzle to think about how we like so much to always have stuff that might not be as positive, as useful for us, and how we never renounce it, we never try to admit that it might not be as good. We we get complacent and we can instantly let things slide. Let's say it like that. Let's start with that claim, and yeah, sadly, once again, it's not that in itself it comes out of nowhere. Oh wow, yeah, we have addictions. Who will? Why do we have addictions? Wow, why does that happen at all, brother? Why would anyone get addicted to anything? No, 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 no. That's not the point. The point is, those things happen. It we don't want to try and find out about them, about why they get to be, about how much we have gotten accustomed to things being that way, and how many more things of that same sort might also keep happening and might also keep existing around us. And I don't feel as if it all was horrible, but I just think that, yeah, sadly, we we are. I talked about it yesterday. I find myself retracting from many conversations that could be had. I think that in a more general level, all of us slowly forego of any possibility about even just pointing at this stuff, even just trying to understand the things for the sake of possessing the knowledge. Even all of those things are now a lot more weird, a lot more rare to do, to see, to have, to experience and whatnot. And I don't know. I don't try to say it as in, oh wow, we don't have that. We're going to die. I I I guess maybe it has existed for such a long time. Maybe it has been part of the human existence for so long that it's just to some degree normal. We don't worry about this stuff and we don't actually lose sleep on things, lose, I guess, waste our life on what doesn't require as much energy, something along those lines. And yeah, it can be true, but at the same time, it also can be true that, you know, we deserve knowledge. Not exactly because, oh yeah, we deserve to know everything. We just deserve it to see the world and to know the world. It's, I guess, just like anything else. We're also part of it. We're also part of this land. It's sad to see that we don't put any effort into doing that. It's to live in such mysterious lives surrounded by so many things that we never stopped to look at, and so many parts of existence that we never had any intrigue for. It's, I remember Emma recently having said something about, yeah, one of the many things that I have heard has also been this whole idea of, I guess, welcome, Goldie. I hope you're well. A this whole idea of, I was saying, we might have stuff that we to some degree care about, yeah, but we also don't require as much interest on stuff. It's not so necessary to be interested in seeing the world, let's say. Also, why see? Yeah, but today, earlier too, on the Discord, why see exactly? Can I press you on that? Can I demand an explanation behind your actions? Sorry, but no. Uh, Basically, I was saying there is this thing of, you know, we can see many things and we can at least make sense out of them, but at the same time, it's not a demand or a necessity to actually do that. It's just a consequence that might come if we are to allow ourselves to explore it, but not part of what we have to do. The world doesn't need to be understood by us, not in the sense that we actually are living in a contradiction of, oh yeah, we cannot make sense out of the world, but rather it's surprising to see that we don't talk about it in that way. We don't need to understand where we are living, why are things the way in which they are. I don't know. I understand that we have some systems trying to make it work, but at the same time, I don't think that you can ask a little children, oh yeah, you're learning about history. Can you tell me why you are doing that? They don't possess that particular insight behind their actions of, oh wow, yeah, yeah. I'm doing it because it gives me so much understanding of what our traditions were, what our past was, what are the common actions between humans, and what might be things that I might also reenact. Might be stuff that I myself end up replicating or trying to avoid, you know? No, that doesn't happen. A kid doesn't think like that. A kid cannot allow itself to reach those conclusions. It takes, sadly, way too much time, much more than what we have as little children. When we are forced even more to study and to care, we don't have the freedom to choose what we are seeing. Just the necessity to consume all of this stuff, and it's the way in which we are almost, yeah, once again, required, demanded to perform, not much more. It's we have things that work, but the way in which they work is not, I guess the proper word might be sufficient. It's sad to see that, yeah, we are in a place in which so many things don't make any sense. Not because they are completely impeded from at all making any sense. There is something wonderful that I have been seeing. I I started with, oh yeah, I have been talking with people, or not even talking, I have been listening to people who complain about how they have so many things to fix on their lives. Now that I have slowly come to the realization about what their issues were, that's true. It's overwhelming the amount of things that one can try to do to make their own existence good. True. But at the same time, isn't that better? Isn't that far more beautiful than anything else? Isn't just the chance of being much more nicer than not at all existing? I don't know. I don't. I understand that sometimes uh, language doesn't need to be as obscure, but I think in that sense, this is one of those occasions in which it does fit the context. Ideas like autodetermination and such self self determination, I think it is called, or something like that. Basically, the more ideal description for just a suicide, things like that, unavoidably start to make much more sense when we stop having the possibility to discuss, to gain interest, to see and to experience what this whole world of ideas has to offer to us. It's I remember having read about it a long time ago. At this point, how there is this guy who talks about anomy. It's a wonderful concept, I guess, because it works to explain one of the social issues that happens when this society itself forgets about the individuals and doesn't allow them to participate as much. That is something that could happen and something that could be an issue that could take place and that could annoy human beings, true. But on another level, there is also a rate of anomy that happens in the ideological sense. We don't need to learn all this stuff. It's better for us to never wonder about things. It's much more useful for us to be part of a discussion about things that lead to nothing. It's necessary for us to not actually look at anything that might be somewhat tiresome to think about, somewhat not for the sake of how I look at something complicated and you don't. I am so much better. No. The point is more along the lines of, you know what? We can actually deal with stuff. We can actually find ourselves surrounded by wonderful things. We already are, basically. We can have even more of that happen. We can talk about the stuff that we actually care about. This We have assumed that we have freedom of speech. Do we even get what it truly entails to have it? Do we even understand what is the weight of choosing what we actually care for? All of that, I guess, is. I don't want to say complicated, but yeah, it's something weird. Also, yeah, see, but I don't know. I don't think it's in itself something demotivating. It's just that, yeah, it's it's not a discussion that we have. It's so sad to see that we don't talk about those things. I guess it's there are so many things that we have retracted from at all talking about. I remember having heard about this idea of, oh yeah, slowly we, as time progresses and the human develops more and more, the unavoidable consequence of all development is to find ourselves alienated from one another, because in the end we have created so many barriers for conversation and so many extra boundaries based on even mistaken actions and barriers laid not out of necessity but rather out of pure comfort. That I guess in the development of the average person, a point comes in which we find ourselves to not have almost anything to talk about, to not have almost anything to look at, and to not have almost any particular idea to actually care about. You know, it's it's sad to see that that could happen and that does happen so much. I don't know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Completely. I think it's part of the insomnia is always to see how in some cases that is like that. That it's people like to fucking talk. We have a lot of opinions that we are afraid of sharing out of nowhere. But it's even if it is somewhat reductionist, yeah, a proper statement is people are willing to speak as long as somebody is willing to also ask the questions. Maybe in the middle ground in all of this is or resides in understanding what are those certain proper questions, yeah. But at the same time, it also is about, man, takes so much time actually to try to do anything like that, to be anywhere like that, to ask stuff. Do we need to actually fail to reach those points in which we have already isolated ourselves, we have already suffered so much? It's we have many lessons. We learn so much. We are so capable of understanding things. I don't know. Supposedly, rationality is something that we take for granted, but in the grand scheme of things, we live in a world in which the rest of the animals have almost no issue killing one another. And somehow we don't talk about that. We don't like, oh yeah, yeah, you know what? I'm going to take pride in my new shoes. Not in the fact that I don't decide to fucking kill people. I am going to take pride on my new bag. Wow. That certainly matters so much more than me not doing harm to others, not doing bad stuff, not making bad choices that could harm anyone else. That is not something that we talk about. That is not something that we try to care about. It's it's that capacity to assume and to make it look like the most shameful thing to ever try at all to point out. It's oh wow, yeah, yeah. How we are rational creatures. How can we say that it's surprising for us to not do bad stuff? How is it that we can actually they try to be happy if all of us understand that we have a laws and that we have these things and these rules and whatnot. Yeah, that's that's our world. You can find children who can even kill one another if you leave them alone. Those rules are not part of our DNA in terms of oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You shall not kill. I guess it's sadly not part of our DNA in that sense. We have come to understand it and to integrate it in terms of higher orders, but it's not something so natural. Yet we don't talk about it. We don't need to talk about it. Yeah, we don't want to talk about it. It's always. It's not something that does not make sense. It's a risky to try to say anything that might be hard to comprehend, easy to misinterpret. We can, once again, the event itself exists, then the moment in which we decide about it also comes, but afterwards. Oh yeah, you know what? I am not going to do it. Therefore, now you have a plethora of excuses for me to not engage in that. You know what? These topics are dangerous. These topics are controversial. These things are hard. Are not so easy to talk about. Require time. Blah blah blah. So many other excuses. None of them can truly explain why. The true reason, the true capacity to admit that we just don't want to do that. We are not willing to, in some cases, address the elephant in the room, so to speak. That is what also we don't want to look at. And I don't know, it's not that, oh yeah, we must confront the elephant, we must bring it down. We all have elephants in our rooms and we must get rid of them to have more space to live in and whatnot. No, it's along the lines of just, you know what, I we all can actually see it. Why are we wasting so much energy in acting like it doesn't exist? You know, there is once I guess once you start reading out stuff that is related to I guess the easiest mode of describing is just depression. One of the most common events is to see how people tend to quote unquote ignore activities, um, postergate, procrastinate on things, and none of that doesn't happen passively. It requires active engagement to decide to not do something, and it becomes much more draining to have 1,000 things that you will do later on than to have just 10 or 20 things that you must do every single day. It's much more complicated to live with a list full of stuff that you will never want to at all look at than to slowly move towards those things that catch our interest and we want to solve. And it's not trying to say that, oh yeah, yeah, you can't have both. No, maybe you can. There is it's not a myth, it's not a oh wow, yeah. It might hypothetically exist. There is a level of high functioning depression, but there is also the reality of I don't know how many elephants can fit in one room before the person gets asphyxiated by the amount of pressure that is contained within that enclosed space, you know? How many things we can willfully ignore because they might take some time, they might, as I said before, alter their excuses. It's that's what feels irrational. That's where that side, that final side of oh yeah, yeah, we have all of these things and we have all of these ideas of ours starts to slowly disappear and starts to slowly become blurrier in terms of it made some sense in the past. Nowadays, I'm not so confident in the explanations that I can give you out why I don't do something, why I don't want to do stuff. I am not going to so easily trust, oh yeah, I know this takes time. I can be more honest. I can. Professing honesty is also about slowly realizing more and more what one exactly suffers or goes through in terms of those sensations that are related to the rest of the events, you know? Some days I just don't want to fucking do stuff. And I don't need to lie about it and make everyone else also feel weird because of it. It's 10 times easier to just say, yeah, you know what, today I don't feel like doing that. Today is a rest day. Today I won't do this. Today I don't have the energy, I don't have the time, I don't have stuff. That's much easier than to, oh, let's, let's all of us struggle together and here comes the endless speech out how wonderful it is to do to all slowly crumble one next to each other because we are going to all crash out. We're all going to keep pushing ourselves one another until we all unavoidably crash out and burn out. That's much better than to be capable of admitting that things are not as fine. Once again, that there are elephants in the room, that there are things that need to be at all pointed at. You know, that's, I guess, that's where it feels that it is something weird. How much all of that always happens and how we can always, or how we can never look at it, I guess. How we can live a whole life without ever trying to gain any level of awareness about it. That's surprising, if nothing else. You will think that we are actually a lot more intelligent. We like to say that we are clever and whatnot, but these sort of actions don't make it feel like that, don't make it look like that. Maybe one day we're going to be getting closer to proper times in which these discussions will be less impeded. Otherwise, we just remain here, or until then, in an area, in a space in which it's much more necessary. And that's, yeah, that's, I guess, that is still part of an argumentation about something similar. It's not even something impossible to talk about. It just requires a scare. You know, so many things can be talked about. So many things can be tackled. So many. Returning to the main example, elephants in the room. Maybe you can directly point at a fucking elephant because it is going to come running at you and fucking crush you down with its own weight. If you point at them, maybe you can slowly hint at stuff. Maybe you can slowly gain awareness of them, and we can slowly ask about their existence and do something about the stuff. It's not about, oh, yeah, you know what, issues exist. It's time to dedicate our whole existence to solving them. This radicality that seems to be part of any kind of speech of this sort, in which somehow we forget that we also need to possess moderation behind our actions. It's like, oh yeah, yeah, all of us are moderate people, all of us are clever people. We literally just spent like 20 minutes talking about how easy it is for us to do stupid stuff. Now we are going to assume that, oh yeah, yeah, you know what? We can also solve the problems. We are going to also solve the possible problem of perhaps overutilizing our energies, burning out in the process of trying to fix the world. That's that's acceptable, I guess. Not not truly, but yeah, I don't know. The world is a mysterious place. That's what I'm trying to say. But it's good. I like it nonetheless. No, let me drink water because I'm kind of dying here. But I don't know. Anyways, I guess. Also, sorry. We just keep on experiencing the world, and that's sort of good enough. There are so many things out there. It's surprising to see how it never ends, actually. How many things there are still to learn out and whatnot. Sadly, yeah. I am also still. I have already made this complaint known before, but one of the many issues is to see also how much knowledge seems to be similar, if not the same. To give it the benefit of the doubt. Not maybe it's not exactly the same, but it's so similar. It's so utterly made out of the same mold. Perhaps the ingredients are all not exactly the same ones, but the mold which shapes the final result is still the same. The contents of many ideas, the conclusions that they end up unavoidably reaching, leading the person to still are similar. At least it makes understanding easier. But on the other hand, this still is just as perplexing to see that yeah, so much time needs to be invested in exploring stuff just to then fully confirm that yeah, wow, certainly we already knew about this stuff because of different origins and whatnot. But at least I guess that's still part of the wonderfulness of the world that we can learn to some degree, even with the most basic apparatus of knowledge, we can slowly expand upon it and get to a general understanding about the world. Just a handful of years, and oh well, yeah. I can't believe it. You said years. It's going to take so long. It's going to be such an endless process. It can years. I cannot spend so much time hanging out with life. I cannot afford to waste my life doing that. It's already late. I didn't do it in time. It's already so late. No, that's also not true. Sadly, I don't agree with that position. I am more than willing to spend as much time as it is needed to live a life in a mode in which it doesn't feel bad. And sadly, it seems to be a possibility to do that. It's not something so out there, so much of of a hypothetical promise more than an achievable consequence of efforts. No, and sadly, yeah, all of that is still just subjective experience more than objective observations on the world. But I don't know. I guess in itself, the most important thing is that everything is good. So that's already more than fulfilling. You know, always things keep moving forward. Things keep happening. There are so many things to also try to work on. It's nice to see that, and it's fulfilling to see that. Just that, yeah, unavoidably, nobody will expect all of these things to be so extended in time. Sometimes we forget that instantaneousness is just a component of video games. The rest of life takes quite a lot of time. And yes, suddenly unavoidably there are some things that do not need it, like is bureaucracy. More than half of it could be eradicated from existence, and we will still get very similar final results. There are still people who cheat. Multiple systems cemented in bureaucracy through so many ways. It's not as important, but at the very least, it's something. And at the very least, it's another chance to find fulfillment, I guess, if we need another description. But yeah, I don't know. So much of a discussion about being happy. Sometimes being happy requires so little that no matter how much we talk about it, far easier to just actually do things instead of looking out at the ways in which it might happen. The world is open. It might be intimidating. I'm not saying that it never is, but it is still open. So much. And it's nice to, I guess, slowly gain awareness of that, slowly become more and more interested in those sort of things. Otherwise, the pressure of out of nowhere seeing that everything can be nice, everything could be enough for anyone to sort of. I guess the verbal expression wouldn't be lucid, but something along those lines, basically. But yeah, I don't know. I think, being honest, I don't think I have much more to say. That's that's my tiny contribution of today. That would actually be. I also, yeah. Let me trying to talk about honesty. I guess I should be honest about it also. Because I did say we are going to try to go for longer times and whatnot. It's also part of me that is somewhat tired, you know? I, it's so hard sometimes to take a proper nap. I wish it was far more easy to do that. But anyways, we are working with the yes, yeah. Always thanks. Thanks for everything. Thanks for another great day. It has been another great evening. Now, everything else must to normality. No, 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 wait. Do it properly. Thanks for everything. Thanks. Thanks for the time. Thanks for the patience, for the interest. Take care, hydrate, rest, sleep, do your things. And yeah, see you next time. When I still don't know when.